It's a matinee edition of Swing for the Fences, Run Pure Sports. Hope everybody is having a wonderful Thursday afternoon. I am coming to you live from somewhere in Florida. I'm not going to tell you where because I know that there are some stalkers and some psychopathic people in our Discord. DC woke up this morning. There were complaints about contest filling, prize pools. Listen, when you're rostering Dean Kramer against the Yankees, you're trying to get first, right? I mean, you're not just trying to cash. So, but contests are good. We got a 4-gamer here for the early slate on DraftKings, and then a 5-gamer a little bit later this evening. Interesting slate last night. It looked, DC, like the Dodgers were going to score 25 runs, and then they just kind of died, which was okay because I was right at the edge of the 888 with my Giants Yankees stack, and it held on. It cashed in there. Would have loved to have Shohei, but I had Aaron Judge, so I was happy about that. Avoided Bobby Miller. That was a putrid performance. And then I'm going to say it because I know you were on the Angels, but Chalk Angels, a throwback game for Patrick Corbin. But we're on to today. How are you doing, DC?
I'm doing well. Excited to talk baseball here on Thursday morning. Unfortunately, the perfectly payout structured 4-4-4 filled too early for me to join in. I love the exact payout structures you'd want from such a tournament. So I didn't get in there myself, but I did want to give a shout out to the good people at DraftKings for making an awesome structure. So keep it up. Keep it up, DK. I love to see it. I'll be in there next time you do a structure like that. The Angels against Corbin did not work out. I went down with 30-40% of the field went down with me on that one. Yeah. It's baseball, right? It happens. I think baseball's the only DFS sport. Maybe like a hockey where it's so like goal dependent, where literally on one slate anything could happen, right? Any stack could win, any pitchers could get there. Obviously, we're trying to turn those dials as much in our favor as possible, playing the odds and the numbers and the probabilities and using our eyes to watch games and all that stuff. But of course, in a baseball game, it's highly variant from day to day, game to game. And that Dodgers-Rockies game, I think it was 8-7 in the 4th or 5th inning and finished that way, which kind of shocking that the Dodgers couldn't score any more runs against the Colorado bullpen. But again, that's just those are the breaks sometimes. So back at it today, we got 2 pretty fun slates, I think. 4-gamer here, or no, 5-gamer. 4-gamer early and then 5-gamer late is what we've got. So we'll talk about these first 4 games. If we've got time toward the end of the show, we will do a little bit on the late games as well. But of course, we have Lock coming up here in just over an hour. So we've got to get out of here, build our own lineups, and hopefully get back to the winner's circle. No Patrick Corbin on the slate, so we got a chance.
There you go. So 12:10 is Lock. We're going to be out of here around 11:45, 11:50 at the latest. I'll just shut the stream down on DC if he doesn't let me do that. We'll get these lineups made. We got the boys in here. Stevers is in here, and he took down the $44 last night for 5K. So congrats to Stevers getting a shipper. Brittany, our girl Brittany, is here. Steve AP is here. Vip is dead to me. I asked Vip a question one day about Jock Peterson, and just a rude response, no response. I mean, he's got the Vaseline out to the Rangers day, night, the Mavericks, the Cowboys. And I figure if there's one guy who knows if Jock Peterson can still hit a baseball, it's Vip. He ignored me, DC, and he made fun. And so he's dead to me. It's just all I can do not to kick him out of
too busy talking about Subway in the chat to answer your Jock Peterson question.
I don't know what that was about. It was a weird rant. I've always been nice to him, and it is what it is. Joe Ruff is here. Let's get into this. Let's get into this slate. We've got is that not the right way to pronounce Stevers? I asked him once and I can't remember his answer. Stevers, Stivers, ST Evers. I don't know. However you pronounce it, congratulations. 216. Let's go Cleveland. But on this slate, we've got Arizona at Miami. Eduardo Rodriguez, DC. And we've got a spot here that I want to talk about. Eduardo Rodriguez, 8,300. Edward Cabrera, 7,200. Erod in 2025, 50% owned, DC. I don't think I can play a 50% owned Eduardo Rodriguez. I think I'm much more interested in Miami than eating into that chalk on this 4-game slate. What say you?
I guess the first thing I would say is if we're going to talk about, on this 4-game slate and pitchers and ownership, none of them are going to seem all that appealing, right? Because none of these pitchers are very good. And, you got to make up the 200%.
Well, yes. But I mean, you nailed it, right? When we're opening, talking about probabilities, what's most likely to happen at 50%. Is it more than 50% likely that Erod has a bad game? I think it is.
Probably. Yeah. You're probably right about that. So, I mean, listen, whoever you roster today, any two pitchers, it's not going to be, a super comfortable a way to play. There's just no question about that. Not very many good arms. Really going all day, but especially early. Yeah, Captain's got Eduardo Rodriguez at 44%, so right up there. Looks like 4 pitchers going to carry the ownership. Rodriguez, like you mentioned, JP Sears, Andrew Heaney, and Brady Singer. So certainly a tough slate for pitching, but we will have 2 of these guys be the top scorers of this slate. And obviously our job to try to figure that out. I do agree that, Rodriguez should be projected right up there, point per dollar wise, with any of these other guys. So I do think he's a reasonable play, but it might be a slate to try to get away from the ownership just out of principle, right? If you don't think any of these guys are kind of any good, maybe a slate to not eat the chalk. I do think Rodriguez, he's pitched fine so far this year. That's about as good as you can say for any of these pitchers. Is they're fine, which I do think is true for Eduardo Rodriguez. Of course, he gets to pitch in Miami, which is a nice place to pitch, and pitches against a bad Miami lineup, which has more lefties in there than I think you'd like against Rodriguez, at least 3 of them. So Rodriguez is fine. Of course, I do think it's a good slate to try to get, some leverage against the field, right? If you're not on Rodriguez, maybe you throw in some of these Miami bats. They've got at least it's hard to make the case for any of these guys being super talented. Connor Norby back in the lineup. He's got some talent hitting second at that $3,200 price point. So a little bit of pop from him. I think he's a pretty good play if you're not on Rodriguez. And then I do think Edward Cabrera is interesting on the other side of this one. He's only made the 1 start so far this year, and he does go up against a tough D-backs lineup. But if we're playing the ownership game, you will get, I think, a pretty decent number on him, 15 to 20% maybe on Cabrera, who is a really, really talented pitcher. If you watch him pitch, it seems like he should be much better than he is. I do think he's capable with his stuff of pitching well against really any lineup, especially in this park. So I don't mind that pivot. He will be mixed in on my 5 lineups. That's Edward Cabrera. And then I do think are we going to see chalky Diamondbacks? I would imagine somewhat.
Fairly popular Diamondbacks, yeah.
Yeah, which makes sense, of course, given that they are a strong lineup and there's not that many good offenses going today. So I can kind of see playing both sides. And honestly, on a 4-game slate, most games, if you're playing a bunch of lineups, you're going to have both sides of it. There's just really no way to avoid that. It's just about, like you said, trying to get over or under the field on the proper players. So, that's what we'll try to do.
All right. We'll move on to the next game. Trevor Williams and the Washington Nationals at the Pirates. Andrew Heaney starting for them. Trevor Williams is 6,300. Andrew Heaney, 7,600. Williams coming off of just a bad game. He went negative last start out. Other than that, he's been pretty dependable. And then, DC, when you see what Bailey Falter did to the Nationals yesterday, and Andrew Heaney's been pitching pretty well at 7,600. What are your thoughts here? I initially had Heaney written up, and then I thought, well, where can I get a little different offensively? And I think if you play Trevor Williams, you're going to be different. But I also think if you play some of these Nationals hitters, you're going to be different here. We know that Heaney can have issues with the long ball. He's pretty much controlled that so far in the early going this year. But what are your thoughts here on the Nats and the Pirates?
Yeah, there's a few pitchers on this slate. I think he included where the ballpark, maybe weather kind of favors or mitigates one of their weaknesses. Like you said, Andrew Heaney has issues, especially with giving up right-handed power, but he gets to play here in Pittsburgh, obviously, which has really deep fences, specifically out to left field. So it's hard to take, unlikely that the home run ball will really bite him in this start, especially against the Nationals, right? Who just don't have hardly any legitimate right-handed power on the team. I mean, speaking of power bats, it's really only James Wood who swings from the left side. Obviously, you could do a left versus left home run there, but it does seem like a relatively safe spot for Andrew Heaney. Again, you say that with a little bit of a grain of salt because he's not that great of a pitcher, but it does seem like a spot Heaney could find success. He's actually pitched, pretty well through 3 starts against Miami, the Reds, and the Yankees. Actually put up 30 fantasy points against the Yankees, 10 strikeouts in that one 2 starts ago. So he did flash the upside. We know it's there with Andrew Heaney, another pitcher that, looks better than maybe his overall results show. Relatively cheap at 7,600, which honestly the pricing on the pitchers today is not really an issue, right? That's not really what should be, I don't think, driving our decisions at starting pitchers. So I like Heaney quite a bit. Looks like he'll get ownership, which I understand. If you're going against him, there's just not a lot there. Dylan Cruz starting to hit the ball a little bit, 3,400 down at the bottom of the lineup. I think you could go that way. Nasim Nunez has some speed. I like how Alex Call looked, even if the production hasn't been there. So I do think you can go to Nationals bats, of course, against Heaney. I do prefer the right-handers in general, but with the way James Wood has been swinging it, he's got to be in play as well. Assuming he's in the lineup. I think it just came out. I haven't refreshed and looked quite yet. And then, Trevor Williams, one of the cheapest pitchers on this slate at 6,300. Actually, he is the cheapest pitcher overall on the slate. Yeah, I think he's a good way to go. This Pittsburgh offense, they rank at or near the bottom of the league in almost every statistical category. Seems like a spot Trevor Williams might have one of his decent, at least, games. So can make the case for either of these guys. Hitters against Williams, O'Neal Cruz, and Reynolds at the top, I think. They're expensive, but I think clearly the 2 best options against Williams. Both guys have some power, some speed. It's a better ballpark for guys swinging from the left side, and Williams historically has been hit pretty hard by opposite-handed hitters. So Cruz and Reynolds, rather, both near the top of my list if you're trying to go pick on Trevor Williams. And also, Nationals do have one of the very worst bullpens in baseball. Obviously, a slight edge to some of those Pittsburgh hitters deeper into the game.
All right. We'll keep it moving here and head.
No opinion on these guys, JT? I don't know. We need the JT thoughts on these.
Yeah, so I said it. I said I think that the way 4-game slate, right? It's hard for me to see these slates just like yesterday. We'll take yesterday's slate, right? Spencer Strider. And I in Discord, I said earlier in the day, now you needed Chris Bassett. That's the one thing that I had a hard time seeing him continue pitching well, even though I know how bad the Braves will continue to be, have been 19 strikeouts for them yesterday, right? But I said, I think you go a little bit different and you can play Steven Matz, and Matz was the best point per dollar pitcher on the slate. I didn't play him. I didn't end up playing him. But you look at today, and I am hard pressed to see a reality where Eduardo Rodriguez meets the 50% mandate here. So when I'm looking at this game, I think it's a good bounce back spot for Trevor Williams against an offense that's been just not good. Definitely not the swing and miss of the Atlanta Braves, but just very little potency from the Pirates so far. And I think on the one hand, 7,600 for Heaney seems a little steep. It seems a little steep for what he normally does. You mentioned the upside, it's there, but I'm willing to take a shot on some of these guys. You got guys that can hit left-handers in this lineup. Jacob Young, Riley Adams is pretty cheap. I don't know about Ahmed Rosario, but Alex Call at the top, Dylan Cruz. I'll take some shots on the Nats here. It's not a not my biggest stand by far, but I am definitely going to play this game as if it's a little bit inverse of what the field expects, which is Trevor Williams has a good bounce back game here against an offense that I think he can control, and the Nats put up some runs. So those are my thoughts here. Not sure if that'll be my core. That'll be up a little bit closer to the 12-10 lock. We'll move on here into just across the river, DC to Big T and Uncle T's territory, Cincinnati. Seattle heading into Cincinnati for the Mariners. Emerson Hancock, 7,800. He got roughed up in his last start, big time, bigly, as they say. And for the Cincinnati Reds, Brady Singer, 8,500. Singer looking like he's going to be popular. The Reds, DC, who haven't been good, got absolutely shut down by Bryce Miller last night. Reds, the most popular offense on this slate. Looks like a lot of people are looking at, the way that ownership is sifting. It's like, oh, the Marlins are bad, the White Sox are bad, and we've got a game in Great American Ballpark. What are your thoughts here on the Mariners and the Reds?
Yeah, kind of a weird spot. You don't see spots like this very often, where I do think Brady Singer is the kind of most talented pitcher on the slate, who also has one of the best strikeout matchups against the Mariners. But on the other side of the coin, I do think the Mariners also have some of the best hitters that you would want to roster just overall, right? Like, you go to Great American, it's obviously a good place to hit. Warming up a little bit, going to be in the mid 60s, so the ball should be flying decently. And we know it's a great home run park. So yeah, Camporeale yesterday, me, Big T, we're on the Camporeale train for sure. I think he's an awesome option. 2 home runs yesterday. Looks like the best catcher play. So I think, what you do with Brady Singer is interesting. I guess a decent question for you, JT. What do you do on a 4-game slate with playing any hitters against pitchers you're using? Do you loosen that restriction? So when you get to like 8-10 game slates, there's no way I'm playing hitters against my pitcher. But obviously, the smaller the slate gets, right, the more likely it gets that Singer could be SP1, and in a home run from Raleigh, he could be by far the best catcher, right? Any home run from a catcher today, and you might need it because that might be the only one. So do you loosen your restriction on that when you get down to a 4-game slate, or do you need to get down to 3 or 2? What's your approach on that?
No, I mean, it's still fairly unlikely that the optimal is going to include a 1 or 2 hitters against their pitcher on a 4-gamer. I think you can include 1 for that one-off. I don't think you're going to get a lot of it even in the optos, though. I think
you got to limit it to 1. 2 is too far for me on a 4-game slate.
Now, the issue here, of course, is the catcher position, and you've got. We'll just go through these just because real quick, and we have time. The White Sox catcher is not in the player pool, so he's not an option.
Somewhere out there, Captain is upset. I'll say that.
But he's very listen. Today is the day. If you have a grievance, today is the day to be in the Discord. We are giving all sorts of attention to grievances, particularly one man's grievances, and he has
RPS 15 if you want to get in the Discord and air your grievances about it.
And he has many grievances about many things, and every day of the week you hear them. Jesus Christ. Okay, Johnny Pareda is the catcher for the A's. The catcher for the Reds is Austin Wynns. You mentioned Cal Raleigh. Joey Bart, who's done almost nothing this year for the Pirates. Riley Adams, I mentioned. The catcher is Rob Brantley, who I don't think has a hit in 3 seasons for the Marlins. And then Jose Herrera, the backup for the Diamondbacks. So it's without question that Vip, we're not mad. We're not mad. We're talking about things as they are. It's without question that Cal Raleigh is the most talented catcher on the slate. He also hit the 2 home runs last night. What does that mean for how they pitch him? What does that mean for today? It doesn't mean a whole lot. He could hit a home run today. He could hit another 2. This is one of the best, not just hitting catchers, one of the best hitters in baseball. So to answer your question, I think it's fine if you want to leave one hitter. You just don't want, Emmanuel Valdez against Trevor Williams in your lineup, right? You want to limit that to where if I'm playing a one-off against my pitcher, it's Corbin Carroll if I'm playing Cabrera, right? It's O'Neal Cruz or Reynolds, like you said, if I'm playing Trevor Williams. I don't want, Brooks Baldwin against JP Sears.
You're trying to get like the home run, right, off your pitcher where that's all they give up. And Raleigh, frankly, is I'm sure he has some of maybe the highest, I haven't looked, home run props on this entire slate. He's got to be right up there with anybody, Cal Raleigh. So I do think, and like you said, I don't think the optimizers really do that where they put the hitter against. So I kind of like that, playing Singer and just playing Raleigh against him. There's enough strikeouts in the Mariners lineup where, he could still get 7 or 8 strikeouts and give up the home run to Raleigh. And maybe that's a unique way to get to the top. So I like that. I will say Singer, like I said, AP is making fun of me because I think Singer is kind of a little bit overrated as a pitcher in general, but it's just that type of slate. There's 4 games to choose from.
When here's the situation, right? I think we attack the Royals pitchers because of the love that AP has for his team.
He does.
One of the funniest spots of yesterday's slate was the love for Chris Bubik. This guy has sucked for multiple seasons. He has 2 good games early in the year, and people are talking about him no hitting the Yankees. Like, what planet are you guys on?
Yeah.
But I think that's why is because AP will play the Royals pitchers, and I understand that you're a fan, you want them to do well, and DC will come in and go straight for the throat. So I get that.
Yeah. The Singer does have.
Bubik is not good. Bubik is not a play him at 30% ownership against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. Good. No, he's not.
Yeah, I'm more on your side on this one, JT. So Singer, he does have some pretty big splits going back a couple seasons where he's been hit hard by lefties, and Reds Park, Great American Ballpark, is good for home runs, out to any part of the field, but specifically, right field, right center field. It's an absolute bandbox. If you can hit a fly ball in that direction, you got a really good chance. And so that's, part of the reason, obviously, for the love for Mr. Raleigh. Also, swinging from the left side, Luke Raley, I think, is a really good play on this specific slate. And even a guy like Rowdy Tellez, super cheap at 2,100. You don't necessarily need the savings from today, but he does have some pretty big power from the left side. A lot of swing and miss, like most of these Mariners do. But, those are my 2 favorite bats on the Mariners, Cal Raleigh and Luke Raley. Can play Raley in the outfield or first base. So good position flexibility there. And then on the other side, we haven't talked about Emerson Hancock, who will start for the always Brian Wu. Like he looks awesome, and then he misses it seems like every 3rd or 4th start. He's like, now my elbow hurts or whatever. And then he comes back and he's totally fine. It's very, very bizarre. I can't really think of any pitcher who only misses 1 start, but misses them frequently. It's strange with Wu. I'm not sure what's up, but anyway, he's out today. It's going to be Emerson Hancock taking the ball for the Mariners. He's only started once this year. It did not go well. 6 earned runs, did not make it through a single inning, despite pitching in Seattle against the Tigers. When you take into account the ballpark and the opponent, got to be one of the very worst starts that we've seen all year long. Couldn't get through an inning, Mr. Hancock. So, you got to at least look at this Reds team. As bad as they've been, the matchup obviously good here. And listen, they didn't want to start Hancock, right? This isn't a situation where they called him up because he's, dominating at the minors, or they love Emerson Hancock. They needed someone to start for a late scratch pitcher. I believe it was just yesterday Wu was scratched from the start. So up comes Hancock because he was on, the same spot in the rotation or whatever. And yeah, I don't really expect it to go all that well. Problem is this Reds team not been hitting, but I do think you got to at least take a hard look at Elly De La Cruz near the top of my list for hitters today. Of course, I'm sure that's the case for most people. Really, though, anyone in this Reds lineup, I think could do damage, and I do like this red stack quite a bit. Yeah, I mean, outside of Cruz, they're pretty cheap. So you can get this 5-man red stack if you want to against Hancock. I'm sure that'll be a decently popular way to go, but it does seem like a pretty good approach, even though, again, you're not going to have a ton of confidence in the Reds and anything can happen. They could get shut down by Hancock. It wouldn't shock me, but I do think they're one of the higher upside, at least, stacks on this slate.
Projected to be the most popular team on the slate here. Again, the ballpark. And guys like this in Emerson Hancock, who's shown flashes of being a moderately average major league pitcher. And when they pitch as badly as he did last time out, usually that midweek bullpen session, they're working on some things. They're looking at the tape. They're saying, hey, here's what you did last time. Maybe he was tipping pitches. Sometimes that'll lead to a big downside performance. So I usually expect these guys to pitch a little better their next start. And then you add into the fact that the Reds are going to be heavy chalk, and I'm just going to come in a little bit less than the field on Cincinnati here. But still a good play in this park. Like you mentioned, Camporeale, J-Rod, Randy Rosarina, guys on Seattle that you could play, maybe more mini stacks here. And maybe mini stacks, maybe 4-game stack is the way to go on this slate, just because the more we talk through it, you see pitchers that are okay. You see offenses that are okay, maybe outside of the Arizona spot, nothing really standing out as something that you would say, okay, this is a good spot for 9 innings. We'll move on here to the last game on the slate, and it's warming up in Chicago, but there's a heavy wind, at least right now, blowing in 15 miles an hour for the A's and the White Sox. JP Sears at 8K, Davis Martin at 7K. Davis Martin coming off of a fairly good performance, and he gets to start here against those daytime A's, perhaps. And Captain, with those great projections, he is high on JP Sears here, higher on Sears than Eduardo Rodriguez. I like this call. A's pitchers the last couple of nights have underwhelmed a bit. They've been fine, but they haven't shown upside. Maybe this is a spot for JP Sears. And Captain has also realized, DC, that Edgar Caro, the catcher for the White Sox, is not in the pool. So he is not happy with DraftKings. What are your thoughts here on the A's and the White Sox?
It's very, very upsetting that I can't get Mr. Edgar Quero into my lineups. But
he just wants a full pool. He just wants a full pool. And I think that's a worthy pursuit.
I agree in general. I do also prefer a full pool of players. So yeah, we're not making fun of Captain today. We got other targets. I agree with Captain and with you. It seems like that JP Sears is my favorite pitcher on the slate overall. Partly it's true because of the conditions here, right? You said it's warming up in Chicago. That's true. Going to be around 60 degrees, but strong winds blowing in. We know that can shift sometimes in Chicago, but looking at the forecast throughout the day, I do think these looks like, 20-mile-per-hour winds in from center field are going to hold up. And if you look at Sears, obviously I think he's pitched his whole career with the A's. He's got some really severe home road splits. And I understand he's on the road in this situation, but I think those splits exist because of where he pitched, right? In the Coliseum, a very spacious ballpark. He's a fly ball pitcher. And if you get him in a home run friendly park, it becomes really difficult for Sears, who, doesn't miss a ton of bats, gives up the fly balls, can be prone, like I said, to the home run. But when he's in a park like he was in the Coliseum, where he's kind of insulated from that risk, he pitches well. I think there's more confidence there. He's able to attack hitters and, let him hit the ball up in the air. Most of those are going to turn into outs. And you look at this White Sox team who just doesn't really have much power outside of, I guess, Robert and I guess Andrew Vaughn have a little bit of power, but I'm not scared of those guys really. So this does look like a situation to me, JT, where we could see Sears pitch well. Also, looks like a pretty friendly pitcher's umpire behind the plate, which is a benefit to a guy like Sears who doesn't have overpowering stuff. He is my SP1 today. Sounds like you might be on the same page. I do think Robert and Vaughn are the best plays against him if you're not using JP Sears, which I won't use him on every lineup, so maybe I'll mix those guys in. And then Davis Martin, I don't know. I'm kind of not sold on him, but I guess on this slate you could consider him. I'm more on the A side. Even in a really, obviously, pitcher-friendly environment, I do think the A's are still worth considering. They also get the benefit of going up against that terrible White Sox bullpen after Martin leaves the game, which frankly will probably be after about 5 innings, so about half the game against a really bad bullpen as well.
Yeah, Davis Martin not going to be in my pitcher pool as of right now. I don't see any reason to do that. This lineup for the White. I don't know anything about Chase Meadroth. I mean, maybe he's a talented young player, although the White Sox tend to shy away from drafting and signing those. So I don't know. But if you were going to try and get a little leverage here, I guess a 2-3-4 for the White Sox, Robert Vaughn, Miguel Vargas. But it's not going to be a lot of those for me on this slate. So, all right, that wraps up the early 4-game slate. Then we've got a late 5-game slate, DC. You want to touch on just your favorite pitchers and stacks as of right now. Of course, subject to change. Get into the Discord at Run Pure Sports. We'll have core plays up for this slate. There's a playbook up. AP did the playbook. Always does a fantastic job on the playbook. And I believe he'll have the playbook duty for the 5-gamer tonight. We'll have core plays. We'll be in the Discord. We'll be debating the best payout structure. That will never change, but we'll be debating it as if it may. We'll be talking about who's not in the player pool. We'll be talking about writing with spaces because it's a weird thing that upsets some people, and I've just continued it because I'm not real sure why. Maybe it's habit now. It's just the way I type. Been doing it on some text thread groups, and they obviously think that perhaps a screw has come loose, DC. But for the night slate, possible as well. For the night slate, thoughts on your favorite pitchers and your favorite offenses?
Yeah, well, the life decisions I've made to come to the point here where at the 39 years of age, a frequent topic of discussion is the payout structures and Edward Cuero in or out of the player pool. Yeah, can't hit the reset button. So this is where we're at. On to the night slate. Kind of a tough slate for pitching again. It seems like most of these guys are on their 4th or 5th
People are asking for feet pictures, by the way, in the Discord. I don't know. If you're not a member of Run Pure Sports, obviously today people have more time on their hands than you.
Are we selling it or not? I can't tell if this is like.
Don't know. I don't know. I had to click out quickly because then I've got Bean Air telling me that he was trying to get a hold of me on Grindr. This is it's a wild, like you, right? Go on. How did I get here?
Well, once the games start and someone's pitcher gives a ball one, it'll change.
He's dead.
Night slate. I mean, what are you looking at here? Like, I'm looking at Lorenzen. I think is a decent play against the Tigers. Just like you're kind of playing matchups with a lot of these guys. It's hard to be overly enthused. I think Reese Olson, a decent pitcher. Griffin Canning has shown a little bit of life, gets a decent matchup against St. Louis. I don't think I can go to Kumar Rocker. My guess is, JT, that the Angels wake up, right? The flop lag thing where they fail against Corbin and then come back and get to Rocker. Something like you're not on the same page. That's all right. But yeah, Canning, Olson, Lorenzen, I think here 7 hours before lock would be the pitchers that I look at. But again, I of course got to look at this more closely. Ownership numbers will change on these guys, but those are the guys I'm looking at right now. In terms of talent, Taj Bradley, I think, pretty clearly at the top of the list. We've seen some big outings from these Rays guys, even at home, right? We obviously saw the Shane Baz dominant performance, and I kind of put Bradley not all the way up there with Shane Baz in terms of talent, but a very talented arm. And of course, he's got to deal with the Yankees, so you don't love that, but maybe you get a contrarian play there with Bradley. Although clearly with the Bubik, people aren't afraid of this Yankees lineup. So we'll see where I end up. But again, right now, at least where I'm sitting, Lorenzen, Olsen, Canning, I think my three favorite pitchers on the slate.
Yeah, I Lorenzen, to me, I think it was a week ago, whatever day I had the playbook and remembered to do it. Lorenzen, I had Lorenzen. He had a decent game. He seems a little bit too expensive here. I don't love the Tigers either, but I wrote down Rocker just because the Angels. I'm not buying this power. I think we're a few weeks away from Ward, Rengifo, Trout, all injuring some vague part of the body that nobody's ever heard of and missing a few months. So I've got Rocker, Will Warren, and Reese Olson written down so far. I think the one thing that I've taken note of this week, I haven't played them, but the Cardinals are hitting the ball, and they're hitting the ball out of the park. And so I've got the Mets, Cardinals, Yankees, because that $9K price tag for Taj Bradley, Yankees going down to their spring training home, which is where this game is going to be played, although the Rays are the home team. Mets, Cards, Yankees, and then you have to as much as I am want to not have to, you have to like the Texas Rangers against this Angels pitcher who is just one of the worst pitchers in Major League Baseball. So that's where I'm starting. Rocker, Warren, Olsen, Mets, Cards, Yanks, and the Texas Rangers, subject to change because things will as the day goes on. We'll get information about lineups, although I don't usually take umpires too much into account, but we'll get some of that information. And who knows what will come up. DC, final thoughts on these two slates here on Thursday. And if you could, just 30 seconds on your preferred prize pool structure.
Yeah. I said it at the beginning of the show. Actually, it was funny to me because I was looking at the structure and it actually looked pretty damn good. Not a huge portion of the prize pool to first place, at least relative to what I don't like is when it's like sometimes FanDuel will have their 555 will have 100K to first and 15K to second or something like that. To me, that's just painful because it's even if you get second place for, a nice 5-figure score, you're still kind of tilted, right? Because you didn't, you lost out on the $85,000 to first place from one more hit that you needed.
That's 0.5 of a point. Yeah.
It's like the only happy person in the tournament are the min cashes, right? Because they weren't close to first anyway. So they, double their money. And in the first place, obviously, but everybody else, either you didn't cash or you didn't get a good portion of it. So I think it's fine when it's like that 444. It was 25K, 15K, 10K. That's a good 1, 2, 3 for me for a high buy-in tournament. So, didn't really understand the being upset about that. But listen, we did see the exact preferred numbers so it's posted in the Discord for members. So there you go.
I'm sure there will be high-level meetings in the DraftKings executive team about how to make that right.
But yeah, a fun day of baseball. I think we'll see some offense given all the mediocre pitchers going. I will say on these shorter slates, I personally think it's not as important to, in my opinion, go full on 5-3, 4-4 stacks because there's just less points scoring overall. Less offenses in total mean that there's less likely that a team's going to get to 8, 10, 12 runs. And it's more likely that you're going to need, most of the home runs on the slate in your lineup to win. And they're probably not all going to come from one or two teams. So I do think these slates are kind of fun where you can open it up a little bit in terms of lineup build. So I like these 4 or 5 game slates.
All right. As I said, core plays will be up. We'll be in the Discord. All kidding aside, it's good to chop it up in the Discord about different topics and enjoy the debate in there. And early slate, late slate, cores, playbooks, everything else, questions, tilting. There will be tilting. DC, there will be tilting when Chase Midroth hits a leadoff triple or something. But let's hope that doesn't happen because we are on JP Sears. And of course, as always, good luck in your contests today and tonight.